Hey Dr. Two, my name's Sam Birchfield. I'm in your seminar and finance class, and this is your Dogpatch industry analysis for our midterm. So, when I started my paper in my report, first question I wanted to ask myself was, how competitive is this market? And the answer is very competitive. 5 players take up 87.7% of the market. You see Walt Disney Company takes up 49% of the market, NBC Universal 18.2%, SeaWorld's Parks and Entertainment 7.4%, and Cedar Fair and Six Flags takes up 6.4% each. That leaves 12.3% left for all the other companies in this market. So there is room for Dogpatch, but it's very minimal. And so that was the direct competitors. The next question is, who's their indirect competitors? And that includes any families that don't want to go to amusement parks for vacation. Maybe they want a more relaxing vacation. And so I just included some ideas, and that would include, beaches, ski resorts, cruises, or even just going to the movie theater. Just other areas that include entertainment and a fun time that is not amusement parks. And so the next thing I looked at was Porter's 5 forces, which includes threat of entry, power of suppliers, power of buyers, threat of substitutes, and rivalry among existing competitors. So there's a low threat of entry, and this is due to high barriers to entry, high fixed cost, and high initial capital cost. And so the threat of entry is low because since there's a high capital cost, this is an industry where you have to have a lot of machines, a lot of overhead, and so it costs a lot just to get that. And so a lot of companies might not get into it due to that cost. And having a high fixed cost along with that just makes it hard for a company to get in this industry. There is a high power of suppliers, and this is due to a captive market and local park selection. So captive market refers to these companies all have the market, they're all in their own respected area, and they're the only ones there for a reason. People have to go to that area to enjoy the amusement parks, and so they have the market. And depending on where you live, like Arkansas, there's a lot more parks around just because Arkansas is more rural. But as you go into these bigger cities like Chicago or even Orlando, you're probably not going to see a lot of parks, or they might just be even just sketchy to take your kids to, have fun. And so that causes parents to take their families to these parks. And the power of buyers is at a medium level. Basically, park attendance is based on customer attendance. These parks can't continue to grow if customers don't come. And so you're putting the power just in the middle. Parks have power, and then the customers have the power too. The customers are giving the parks the money to get in, but the parks are also including an experience for their family, a good time, memories that last forever. There's a medium level of threat of substitutes due to low competition and high competition among destinations. You go to Disney World, I've been there several times. I've never known of any other local parks. And so since a lot of these parks are by themselves, just having really no competition, threat substitutes is minimal. And then based on these parks are all by themselves, so you're not going to see a Six Flags and a Disney World right across the road from each other. So there's high competition based on your destination. And there's a medium rivalry among existing competitors. This is the same reasons for the threat of substitute, which includes low local competition and high competition based on the destination. And so let's look at the industry now. This is considered more of a leisure industry, entertainment, having a good time. So based on this study I found from Cornell University, the annual growth rate for this industry is 5.4%, and their forecasted growth rate is 2%. That includes a $3.5 billion profit as an industry whole. And the business cycle for this industry is consumer cyclical, which I'll explain in this chart. So I got this graph from Fred. It is the total revenue for amusement and theme parks establishments subject to federal income tax, employer firms. And so basically, when you're talking about consumer cyclical, basically these businesses, how well they do depends on the stock market. So based on this chart, you see in the gray shaded areas, that's when the economy was in a recession. So you have 2001 and 2008. But as you see, outside of these recessions, this industry's revenue continues to increase. So based on the economy, people will come and enjoy, which makes sense. When times are good, people will spend more, have a good time. When times are bad, they'll just stay home and kind of save as much money as they can just to keep themselves from losing too much money. So what are some of the economic drivers? Includes consumer spending, domestic trips by U.S. residents, inbound trips by non-U.S. residents, time spent on leisure and sports, and number of adolescents ages 10 through 19. So as long as consumers are spending money, this economy will continue to increase. I'd say statistically, there's probably more inbound trips by non-U.S. residents than domestic trips, just based on my personal trips to these different amusement parks. So as long as both sides continue to go, this economy will continue to increase. And, people are spending more time on leisure and sports now. Just, you work 40 hours a week, and after a while, it's time for vacation. So people are spending more time on, vacation. And as long as people continue to have kids, and especially in this 10 to 19 age gap, that's right up, that's young teenagers, older teenagers. They love music parks, they love the thrill, and so people will continue to take their kids to that to get that experience. The industry growth levels. So there's a low growth level in industry globalization. I think that means, you don't see Disney World or Six Flags. You don't see these main companies. You don't see their parks in China or Japan or France, in outside the United States, and vice versa. You don't see many companies from China or Japan or just any other foreign company. So globalization is low. Very few, companies are going in and out of the States. Now, as far as medium growth levels, you see that in revenue volatility, technology change, and competition level. And so revenue volatility, obviously that refers to high, different companies having high and low revenues. And it's at a medium level just because it's not too volatile. The market's pretty good. It continues to increase. Technology change. As technology continues to increase, that just increases the different types of rides these amusement parks can offer. And as long as that change continues to increase, it should increase revenues as well. And competition level, it's at a medium level due to the threat of substitutes and the rivalry among competitors. And now the high growth levels, the industry as a whole, its growth is high and capital intensity is well. And I think that probably due to technology change too, just as this industry and economy continues to increase, companies' capital is continuing to increase as well. So when I was doing my projected income statement, here's some of my assumptions, and it's just what I decided I was going to go with. First one, based on your report you sent us, is revenue remains constant, and tax rate remains constant at 30%. Interest remains constant at 48%. Cost of goods sold and depreciation expense reduces by 2% each year, and operating expenses decrease by 3% each year. And the reason the last two that I decreased it by a minimum amount, my assumption is as Dogpatch goes into more business, the first year, they had, capital costs, fixed costs. There's a lot of costs that go in with starting a company. And so I feel like as they go further into their business, they'll learn how to reduce costs. And so that should decrease. And, just an assumption, but here is my projected income statement, which I will send to you. And based on these projections that I made, net income would increase from year one to 7%, 14%, 21%, 27% and 34%. This is just based on my assumptions. Could be wrong. That's all I got, or no. So my conclusion, I would not purchase Dogpatch. The main thing that makes that decision for me, or my personal opinion, is 5 companies controlling 87.7% of the market. I just feel like when you have 5 companies controlling that much market, even if there's 12.3% left, that's just every other company's fighting for anything they can get. And I feel like most of these touristy areas are already controlled, and so I just don't know where Dogpatch fits in with that. Dogpatch might be could be more of a local event. So as your community fairs, different events, and I just feel like maybe they're more of like the traveling amusement park that you see. And another thing is just the high fixed and initial capital cost. That would worry me as an investor is, how high are those costs? And so based on all these in my report that I will send you, I just don't think we should purchase Dogpatch. Thank you.